The first video I made today, if you didn't see it, maybe you're just watching this video because it popped up, but on my channel I got a bunch of videos. I made a video about Antifa. They were attacking some Marine Corps reservists. And I opened the video by talking about how the media is a bubble of bias and they don't report on these things. They don't report on Antifa robbing and beating Marine Corps reservists or beating up a Jewish man. There are media outlets that do, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about the big New York, well-funded, venture capitalist-funded digital media outlets, as well as many of the big cable channels. Dan Gaynor has this op-ed from Fox News that I want to read through. Liberal media tells us the left is right and the right is wrong. Now, one thing I want to point out that may not be addressed in this, though many journalists do, journalism as a whole, from like local industries to big New York companies, tends to be liberals. They do. And we have this here. He says, many journalists argue that there's no such thing as a liberal media bias, but polls show that most Americans disagree. Even a recent survey of financial journalists shows self-described liberals outnumbering conservatives 13-1. But although there are many more liberal journalists, online conservatives do dominate social media, particularly Facebook. I think it's not true for Twitter, but it is for Facebook to an extreme degree. Like the Daily Wire gets something like 10 times or 15 times as many views as the next biggest left-wing outlet that gets shares on Facebook, which I believe is The Root. The point is, conservatives have their reach. But when it comes to Vox, Vice, Huffington Post, these are big companies with massive funding. Much more funding, much more investment than the Daily Wire would have. So let's read through this. We will read through this, and then we'll talk about the media. He says, the result is a national press that attacks those on the right for anything and downplays everything awful done by the left. That was especially true this week as the media slammed supporters of President Trump as being racist just for voting for him, accused AR-15 owners of being mass life takers, and deployed synonyms from the dictator handbook to describe President Trump from authoritarian to Stalinist. The sports site Deadspin actually used a documentary about the Ultimate Fighting Championship to describe the president as he goes through a big list of things they called him. Then on the other side of the coin, the media showed their liberal loyalties. They called former First Lady Michelle Obama a superstar. They celebrated how Democratic Socialist Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's shoes are making history. It's got to be shoes, an ad once said. And journalists did their collective best to bury even uncomfortable stories about the left, from liberal anti-Semitism to a congressman tweeting about nuking Americans. Let's start on the right. And where better than CNN and CNN political analyst Kirsten Powers during a Don Lemon panel on why white women aren't woke enough to all vote for Democrats. Powers let fly with her attack. Powers criticized people who say, well, I'm not racist, I just voted for him because I didn't like Hillary Clinton, adding, I just want to say that doesn't make you not racist, it actually makes you racist. Oh, it's mind-numbing. CNN. I made a video the other day where I said real journalism is dead and CNN is dancing on its grave. CNN is the worst. They're just so bad. Like, okay, first, let me just say, CNN.com has base reporting, and that's fine. I'm talking about the cable channel. And I can criticize the Fox News cable channel as well, and I will. I like Tucker Carlson, I do. I disagree with a bit of what he says, but I find him to be a particularly rational individual, although some of the things he does, I'm like, oh, come on, man, you know that's not true. Some segments. He did a great debate with Cenk. It was very calm, and I think Tucker's rather moderate. He's a middle-of-the-road guy, so I enjoy. Not a big fan of Hannity and Laura Ingraham, okay, admittedly. And I think there are issues with Fox News primetime opinion segments. The issue is, during the day, Fox News is actually rather impressive. And you have Shep Smith. Everybody likes to rag on Shep because he actually calls out Trump, sometimes when he's wrong. Like, there was one segment, I can't remember what happened, but Shep Smith called out Trump on some issue recently that he was kind of wrong about. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that Fox will actually have, their Shep Smith, whatever you want to call him. But Fox News' newsroom actually isn't that bad. Now, I have some criticisms of Fox and Friends, but they do America's Newsroom throughout the day, and Bret Baier, I think Bret Baier is fantastic. I've seen Bret Baier just refuse to get into the muck when he's had guests on, and he's talking to them, and they throw out some, left-wing opinion, and he says, right, and he just changes the subject, like, let's move on and talk facts. I think Bret Baier does a fantastic job. Here's the thing. CNN is basically all opinion show. All of it is slanted, and all of it is bad. I love how people like to criticize Fox News, and don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong, Fox News can and should be criticized. But CNN, it's just mind-numbing when I'm watching this, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Don Lemon Like, come on, man. Don Lemon claimed there was no tear gas in Ferguson when I was there getting tear gassed. That's bad. When they're on the ground reporting makes up this nonsense, okay? And don't get me wrong, Fox News can have their problems too, absolutely. But Tucker Carlson, opinion guy, kind of moderate. It's, you can criticize him, but I don't think he's that bad. Bret Baier, wonderful job. The newsroom, the evening news programs on Fox News, which actually tend to dominate their ratings, pretty cut and dry. Not that bad. And I'm going to say it again. When Shep Smith called out Trump on his invasion comments, I'm like, hey, look, there's a little bit of balance there. But admittedly, I do think their opinion people, for the most part, it's Hannity and Ingram, go a little far. Right? I'm kind of like, cringing a lot of what they say. But CNN's always like that. CNN all day. Okay, so a couple of years ago, I'd have CNN running 24/7. Just because if they have a breaking news update, I want to catch it. But it's just gotten so bad, okay? You want to criticize Fox News by all means, but Jim Acosta at CNN is just the worst. And that's why I say dancing on the grave, because Jim Acosta literally just doesn't care. He is vile, absolutely vile. I think he is one of the worst human beings. It's like, whatever happened to him, he decided that he now throw ethics and morals out the window. Just go for it. Just make a mockery of journalism, debate the president, waste everyone's time, get into fights, refuse to give up microphones. I really, really do not like that guy. Point being, CNN has just become complete and utter trash. But let's go back to Dan's op-ed and read on. He says, not to be outdone, Newsweek national politics writer Nina Burleigh chimed in to bash gun owners. She retweeted a stupid comment by Democrat Rep. Eric Swalwell of California, noting, almost every single person I've ever heard of with an AR has been a mass life taker. Burleigh was widely criticized and refused to accept any of it, saying she assumed the majority are pro-NRA Russian bots. I don't own an AR, okay? I've actually never fired one. I did do a training at a police academy because I think it's important to understand, at least to a certain extent, something if you're going to try and talk about it. So I did a training with some instructors who were actually relatively for gun control, okay? And it could be because they're in New Jersey, but that's another issue. I am not a pro-NRA Russian bot. I'm just not deranged, right? And I don't mean to directly insult people on the left by saying deranged. I mean in reference to the idea of like Trump derangement syndrome. That people are going to be opposed to something they don't understand instead of actually doing the research. Well, I want to do the research. And I can have opinions, and I can talk to these people. I am not a big NRA person. I know very little about the NRA. I've actually turned down, I've had some guest requests. NRA TV saying, would you want to come and talk about some issues? And I said no, because the NRA is just, I'll do a guest segment from, I've gone on RT before, I've gone on InfoWars, but the NRA is specifically about advocating for gun rights and things of that nature. And I'm like, not necessarily a media outlet that I know InfoWars is kind of, fringy, but that's different. I would love to approach their audience that are typically engaging in various news ideas, but the NRA's was too specific for me. But I don't mean any disrespect. And I'm not trying to say I have anything against the NRA. I'm rather neutral. The issue is, this idea that anybody who owns it is going to be a mass life taker. I can't say certain words, forgive me. And assuming that people are all pro-NRA Russian bots is ridiculous. The media didn't just target President Trump. Anyone on the right was fair game. The New York Times went after the president's family, asking, are Jared and Ivanka good for the Jews? This from the same newspaper that also complained that criticism of liberal billionaire George Soros is somehow anti-Semitic. There's actually a really good one in here that I want to find. We'll just read on. Naturally, immigration remained a hot-button topic this week. The nation's top two Hispanic TV broadcasters, Univision and Telemundo, described Republicans as being anti-immigrant 35 times in just 3 months. Not anti-illegal immigrant, just anti-immigrant on news programs. This is another really good thing that should be brought up. You'll notice left-wing outlets don't differentiate between illegal immigration and immigration. And no matter how many times Trump says they can come here legally, just not illegally, they still just conflate the two. And when Trump says illegal immigrants tend to do this, they go, he's saying all immigrants tend to do this. Look, I think it's for ratings. I really do. They want to rile up the left, and this is the rhetoric they use, and it's going to bite them in the ass. It is, because now even Hillary Clinton and John Kerry are saying, oh, let's walk this back. Migration's not so great. Right? That's on my main channel today, youtube.com/timcast, different channel. I've got a video up where John Kerry, okay, former Secretary of State, actually said Europe is being crushed by migration. Okay, so now this rhetoric is not servicing the Democrats all too well. It is not. BuzzFeed even went after American icon Smokey Bear, falsely accusing him of backing the idea of suppressing fires in forests. The outlet deleted the tweet, apparently after someone remembered that Smokey's entire career was built on preventing forest fires. But being seen as an American icon makes you a target in today's news. It's unbearable. I believe that pun was intentional, Dan, you sly dog. But I'm not going to read through the whole thing. Let's just wrap up the conclusion, and then I'm going to rag a little bit on media. Rather than skewer, so he says, the press didn't stop there. The Washington Post fact checker wouldn't even use standard measures of lying, Pinocchios, to show how badly Senator Kirsten Gillibrand mangled economic statistics. Gillibrand got unemployment numbers wrong for black women, black men, and Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. Rather than skewer the senator for incompetence for lying, fact checker Glenn Kessler admitted that Gillibrand managed to mangle 3 statistics in 3 consecutive sentences before a large audience. Then he gave her a Pinocchio-free pass. No wonder the press has gotten good at giving the left a pass. And no wonder that Fox News gets more viewership than all of the big networks combined. CNN, HLN, MSNBC combined do not get as many viewers as Fox does. At least the last time I checked the Adweek numbers. For the most part, Fox News dominates on cable TV. Why? Most of the media is doing things like this. Listen, I guess they're banking off of the fact that people on the left don't do the work to search for news themselves. And I would say one phenomenon I've found is because of this, because the media is in a bubble and doesn't do research. Conservatives are forced to look for news and thus end up researching a lot more. There's two extremes to this. Conservatives who are driven online in search of news will end up, not all of them, but there's a fringe group that end up going too far. They start finding weird conspiracy videos and then putting things together that aren't true and then finding fake news. Those are the extreme conspiracy far-right individuals, and it's a very small group. And the far left, you end up with Antifa. People who show up accusing Jewish people of being Proud Boys and then beating them up and then saying, oops, because they don't do research either. They are truly, like, at the end of the day, I don't care what your political beliefs are. I care that you want to know what's happening and you want to be honest about it. Anyway, interesting opinion piece by Dan Gaynor here. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the main channel, youtube.com/timcast at 4 p.m.